When it comes to ZBCN, man, I'm very excited and I think the future could look so bright because beyond ZBCN hypothetically going to the price of 10 cents, which is my price target for it, I do believe that there are some real deal markets that Zebec is beginning to be focused on, which I think is absolutely amazing, even though nothing I say is financial advice. And I think a lot of these new sectors are really coming from Zebec's recent acquisition of Science Card UK because allegedly through this, they're going to be focused on something called decentralized science. Now, why is this amazing? It's because if we take a look at this article right here, back in November of 2024, to be exact, it's November 25th actually, so it's still kind of a while back ago, but I still think it's relevant nonetheless because this title again, according to the Cointelegraph, it said how decentralized science is likely like early DeFi in 2019. And we got to think about this, right? When it comes to DeFi, we all know how massive that was. In 2021, it gained so much attention, so much hype. However, a lot of the groundwork, I would say, was done beforehand in a sense that it was kind of like building and then it kind of just really gained a lot of attention that year. But even besides that point, could decentralized science be the next quote unquote DeFi, right? Or should I say decentralized finance? Maybe. So when I take a look at Zebec, again, by being focused on that market, quite essentially through acquiring Science Card UK, that really showcases their forward-thinking mindset. They're even being focused on markets that haven't really taken off yet, but could maybe one day do take off. Or should I say, take off, right? So then the way I view it is that Zebec, they have this forward-thinking mindset. This is how of a genius I think their team is. Not to mention as well, through this, right? Zebec is kind of entering the education market as well, in my opinion, through Science Card UK. Now, why is this amazing? It's because if we take a look at just in the US, I'm not talking about worldwide, right? Again, just in the US, the education market was worth nearly $1.5 trillion in 2021, according to something called Facts and Factors. So I think this is very fantastic. I think when it comes to being focused on education, that's a smart move. When it comes to Zebec, when it comes to being focused on decentralized science, even though not many people have really kind of thought about that, I still think it's genius nonetheless. Because oftentimes when people take a look at Zebec, they think how, when it comes to the Zebec Network, it's very amazing for the world of global trade and finance and the payments market. And they take a look at how Zebec's focused on AI-based PayFi. They take a look at how it's focused on payrolls, focused on, RWAs, right, real world assets. When people take a look at this, they think, okay, this is really good. But really, Zebec, while other projects out there might just quit and just give up in a sense that they don't really want to expand their sectors, Zebec is expanding. This is the type of mindset I like because it showcases that they're not like, just kind of stuck in their ways and not really wanting to develop and build. And I think really, when we take a look at Zebec's partnerships, it really does highlight why something like this is very fantastic. Because keep in mind, before all this kind of like, commotion that we see as of right now when it comes to ZBCN doing very well, before all that, we have to remember that Circle, which is the creator of USDC, they're an investor in Zebec. Not to mention Solana Ventures is also an investor in Zebec, at least allegedly. So we got to think about that. This stuff happened before ZBCN became massive. And I talked about this, right? I said that, maybe when they believe in a project, I'm not going to automatically believe in it, but then it shows that they at least maybe see something because they're not really just going to want to invest in something that they think doesn't have a bright future, at least I would assume. Not to mention Zebec has partners with, or should I say partnerships, right? With MasterCard, allegedly, Visa, Bank of America, JP Morgan. And this is just to name a few. But then I'm just saying, imagine if a project can have partnerships like that and it doesn't have like a multi-billion-dollar market cap type of thing, right, going on. The way to take a look at it is that that's very impressive. It showcases that the fundamentals were so good that it was able to allow these large entities to overlook the fact that the market cap was pretty low. That is something that truly, I think, showcases how special Zebec is. But as of right now, it's just a waiting game because even though ZBCN has done very well, keep in mind 10 cents is still around a 13x from here. It's becoming more believable as of right now than way before, right? But then I'm just saying, keep in mind, when it comes to altcoins, usually as a worst case scenario, they typically peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. So 18 months from the last Bitcoin halving event would actually mean around October this year. Maybe it might not be that much time longer, I would assume. Now, it would only really just depend on what really goes on with the market, but just take a look at how well ZBCN is doing right now. I mean, man, if that Bitcoin dominance drops, and let's say we see that fully fledged type of altcoin season, much like what we saw back in 2021, but maybe this time a lot better, man, 10 cents even at that point may seem a little bit bearish, but you know what? I'm not going to change my 10-cent prediction, at least in theory, because some people out there say I should change it. But here's the thing. The way I take a look at it is that it's better for me to believe in a realistic scenario than imagine something unrealistic and then it never reaches it. You know what I mean? I'd rather have a target here and then the result is exceeding it, as opposed to, thinking that something is going to be like all the way up here or whatever, and then the result is just like, all the way down here. I don't want to do that. Personally for me, I would much rather believe in something that is a little bit more realistic, especially when taking a look at just the whole space overall. But again, I'm just going to stay patient, acquire, hold, and I just wait, because whether or not ZBCN, let's say in theory, reaches 10 cents in October, in December, or let's say in January of next year, whenever, right? There's only one thing I can control, and that's myself. So I'm going to be accumulating, holding, and just waiting. That's it, because 10 cents, that wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.